Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning I want to talk to you about part one of the 10 steps to build your credit. So let's jump right into it. So as I mentioned in a previous episode, the increase in credit available allows for more spending to occur, therefore expanding the economy. But with that comes a gray cloud per se, or maybe even a black cloud that has to do with debt loads. So stepping into this brand new year, people are consistently looking at how they can improve their credit. And with that, I see it as a defense move. And I see it as important for you to look at this new year, look at your credit score, and be able to see how you're going to strategically look at not only maintaining your credit, but also improving upon those 5 key components that are outlined by FICO. And so with that, there are people who have not established credit yet, and you may be one of them. There are those who have established credit in the past, but maybe haven't maintained it. And there are also those who have established and maintained their credit, but want to learn how to improve it. So that's what we're going to jump into today. So I mentioned in the last episode that FICO ranges from 300 up to 850. And so you would assume the higher the credit score, the better, within reason. And I only say that because I've seen so many people become obsessive over their credit score. And your credit score tells you a story, actually, even more clearly, tells the institution that you're applying for a loan with, or the apartment complex that you are trying to rent an apartment from, how well you've managed credit. Not necessarily money, but credit. And oftentimes people use these interchangeably. And that, I believe, is an issue because even though you can manage your credit really well, that doesn't mean you actually manage your money well. So the first step to building your credit comes down to knowing where you stand, knowing where you're at, and knowing from this point forward, what you're aiming at, what you're moving towards. And so with that, that's why my call to action yesterday had to do with pulling that credit score so that you had that 3-digit number to go off of. And so there are 5 key categories that basically break down based on ranges of your credit score. And so you'll fall into one of these 5 categories. And these categories go from very poor all the way up to exceptional. Very poor has a credit score range of 300 to 579. Then it goes to fair. And fair has a credit score range of 580 to 669. Good has a credit score range of 670 to 739. Then there's very good beyond that of 740 to 799. Now exceptional is 800 to 850. And so based on this, you have 5 key categories, and based on the number you polled yesterday, you should have an aggregate, and you should, based on that number, be able to figure out which category you're in. So the second step in improving your credit score really comes down to reviewing your credit report and going through it and making sure that all aspects of that is correct. And why that's so important is because the Federal Trade Commission has stated that 1 out of 5 of these credit reports has some level of error on them. And that's why it's important for you to go and dig in to these reports, figure out if the information being reported is actually correct. So the third step in building your credit really comes down to focusing in on those that maybe don't have a credit score, or maybe their credit score is much lower than they anticipated. So if you pulled that credit report, you should have had a 3-digit number, as I mentioned before. And that 3-digit number should be able to tell you where your credit score is on that band within those categories. But if there's not a score attached to it, it may be because you don't have transactions as recent as 6 months. It could be because those bills that you pay don't necessarily report. And so what I wanted to focus in on was for those who don't have a credit score, that did not get a number when they search their credit. So the Consumer Finance Credit Bureau reported that 45 million Americans do not have a credit score. So you're not alone. So those who actually pulled their credit report and didn't have a three-digit number to basically understand where they're at in the band, where they're at in those categories that I referred to, are now in a place of like, okay, well, what's next for me? If I don't have a credit score, does that mean I have zero credit? And that doesn't mean that you have a credit score of zero. In fact, what it means is that you just need to establish that credit so that what you are reporting or what you are paying is actually being reported. So if you're one of the 45 million people who have not established credit yet, that's okay. You're in good company. But in order to establish that credit, there are some options out there that I think would be helpful to you. I think the first step comes down to you visiting your local bank or credit union and having a conversation around a credit builder loan or a secured credit card. Those two options in particular would allow you to build credit on your own without getting a cosigner. Another option would be, of course, to have a family member co-sign for you on a loan, but you have to be careful about that because of the relational capital with that individual, and you just want to be mindful, around that. So beyond that, there are also store credit cards that you could utilize if you have a retailer that you frequent, and that may be a good option. That is one that is less common, and I would say that is probably a last resort in some aspects, but it's an option nonetheless. The last option that I thought of was having a self-reported source. So Bankrate reported that there is still plenty of ways to share your positive financial habits with credit bureaus. Third-party services like Pay Your Rent and Rent Track, for example, will report your next rental payments to all three of the major credit bureaus. So this would allow you to report those payments that may not show up on your credit bureau and maybe preventing you from actually having a credit score. Beyond this, you could also pay for a service to help your credit score, help boost your credit score. But Experian Boost, for example, lets you add phone and utility bills to your Experian report. And a history of on-time payments can boost your credit score. So with this product is made available at a cost to help you report on those things that may not be recognized or reported otherwise. So this step in particular has to do with people who do not have established credit. And so with that, I wanted to make a provision for those people, and it's a massive group of people who do not have a credit score and have not established that. But moving on to those who want to improve their credit, step 4 through 10 helps people to further improve upon their credit score. So the next step in improving your credit score comes down to the largest aspect, the largest weighted aspect of the FICO score, which is on-time payments. And so with that, what I would encourage you to do is set up at least the minimum payment for an auto draft, for a auto payment, so that you make sure that you are paying your payments on time. And you may also want to just set up a calendar invite that reminds you to pay these payments. But being that is the biggest aspect of your FICO score, you want to make sure that you're diligent to pay your bills on time. So in light of paying your payments on time, it's good to keep in mind that hard inquiries on your credit typically stay on your credit report for 2 years. The the delinquencies that you may have had in your past, or maybe even the consolidation loans that you've had, those typically stay on your credit for 7 years. And if you've ever had any kind of a bankruptcy, those typically stay on your credit for 7 to 10 years. So some of these decisions to not put systems in place to automate your payments can actually have a pretty long-term effect on your credit. And that's why I would encourage you to make sure that you are scheduling those. So the fifth step has to do with the amount owed. So as you recall, this was the second most weighted item for your FICO score. And so with that comes down to your balance to limit and making sure that your utilization is below what is commonly referred to as the 30% mark. And so what you want to make sure is that any revolving debt, any line of credit, any credit card has a balance below 30%. Otherwise, it's negatively affecting your score. And so how you calculate that is you look at the limit of that credit card, the limit of that line of credit, and maybe that limit is $10,000. And so based on that, if you have a utilization of $30,000 or less, that is something that's actually helping your credit score. But if you have $3,000 or more, or above that 30% mark, that is something that is not benefiting your credit score. And so you want to keep that in mind for any revolving credit, whether it is a line of credit or whether it's a credit card to start with. So I'd start by looking at those. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis to improve on managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.